In this video, I'll be talking about the section regarding targeting of the property rights of minority communities in South Africa. After the ruling ANC had adopted a policy of land expropriation without compensation at its 54th National Conference in December 2017, Cyril Ramaphosa, its newly elected president, said that redistributing land from white landowners to black people would increase food production and that, and I quote, South Africa could turn into the ultimate paradise if the implementation of the policy of expropriation of land without compensation leads to higher food production. He also added, we can make this country the Garden of Eden, end quote. On the 27th of February 2018, the South African Parliament adopted a motion that a process had to be started to amend Section 25, the property rights clause within the South African Constitution, to provide for expropriation of land without compensation. Shortly after, David Mabuza, the Deputy President of South Africa, threatened white farmers with a violent takeover should they not volunteer to hand over some of their land. It is argued that this policy must be implemented so that more black South Africans can own property. It is however evident from public statements and the policy documents of the ruling ANC that the intention is for the state, not private individuals, to own the land. The point is further proven by the fact that a mere 6.3% of the land bought by the state has to date been transferred to private ownership. Furthermore, the call for expropriation of private property is usually framed as a necessary step to undo the history of injustices in terms of land ownership. However, it ignores the fact that the restitution program has been in place for more than a quarter of a century, according to which 1.8 million black South Africans have already received compensation. The Restitution of Land Act of 1994 provides for people to institute claims for land that they had been deprived of as a result of racially discriminatory practices, such as forced removals. 82% of land claims were for urban land, however, rather than rural land. Furthermore, what came as a further source of frustration to the government was the fact that over 90% of those who had instituted land claims indicated that they were not really interested in owning agricultural land and that they would rather prefer money as compensation. The government responded angrily to this, stating that black South Africans' preference for money over land was, in their own words, hurting land reform. Becky Mbile, in charge of land restitution support in KwaZulu-Natal, explained what black land claimants said. In his own quote, many of the claimants already have small pieces of land and some don't even live in those areas where their forefathers were removed from. Some say to us that they don't want more land than they already own and that the risk involved if they ask us to buy them those huge pieces of land that will go out of production. He then explained why this was a problem for the government. In his quote, the problem with this is that if you look at the outcome of the first phase of the land audit, the amount of land that is private land, particularly that is owned by white people in this country, is still in the region between 70 and 80%. We can only change the land ownership pattern if people opt for restoration. If they opt for financial compensation, the pattern stays the same. If you take the money, you don't dent the problem that currently exists, end quote. Notwithstanding the fact that the figures of white land ownership provided by Mbili are inflated. For example, 34.5% of all land in South Africa and 26.7% of agricultural land is black owned. The problem, therefore, is that the South African government is dedicated to reducing the amount of land owned by white people, while this is not regarded as a priority by the majority of black South Africans. This is also evident from the rapid pace at which urbanization among black South Africans is taking place. Black South Africans, more than any other group, appear to desire to live in cities rather than rural areas. From the year 2000 to 2015, the population of black Africans in Johannesburg increased by 76.7%. The corresponding number for Cape Town is 122.4% and in Pretoria 71.6%. In the same period, the number of white people in Johannesburg declined by 8.1% and in Cape Town by 0.7%. In Pretoria, the number of white people increased by a mere 2.7%. The South African Institute of Race Relations surveyed South Africans and asked them what they believed had to be done to improve their lives, and only 8% indicated that they believed that land reform would improve people's lives. The survey also found that a mere 2% of people in South Africa want land distribution to be a top priority for the South African government. It is noteworthy that according to the survey, white South Africans regard land reform as a more pressing issue to be resolved than black South Africans. According to the South African government, almost 8 million hectares, about 9% of agricultural land, have been distributed to black South Africans. However, it is also admitted that more than 90% of farms distributed by the state to black African communities had failed and had usually reverted very quickly either to subsistence farming or to squatter camps. A 2017 study by the Land Bank found that of approximately 4,000 farms that had been acquired since 1994 at a cost of 10 billion rand, only 10% were still productive. While the South African government already spent more than 45 billion on land reform, only 6.3% of that land that had been acquired by the state had been transferred to private owners. The statement in 2018 by Zweli Mkhize, Minister of Cooperative Government and Traditional Affairs, that no property of any black person or black group would be expropriated, further gives a racial dimension to the government's expropriation plans. According to a 2017 land audit by Agri-SA, black South Africans own more than almost half of all agricultural land in 3 of South Africa's most fertile provinces, namely the Eastern Cape, Limpopo and KwaZulu-Natal. Furthermore, landowners who are not white control more than 46% of South Africa's agricultural potential. In KwaZulu-Natal alone, 45.4% of agricultural land, and this is the surface area, is owned by black people. This represents 73.5% of the agricultural potential of the province. A special report by the Centre for Development and Enterprise in 2018 states that a total of 17.44 million hectares have already been transferred from white ownership since 1994, which is equal to 21% of the 82.76 million hectares of farmland in freehold in South Africa. Furthermore, 24.03% of land in South Africa is state-owned. It is quite disheartening that the motion to review Section 25 of the Constitution disregarded the facts about the real progress that has been made with land restitution and ignored some of the financial realities of farming. This video forms part of a larger series of videos on AfriForum's report on minority rights. If you find it interesting, you can go check out the playlist that will be on my channel that has all the other videos as soon as they come up. If you are also interested in the type of content that I make, you can subscribe. And also, this is very important that these types of videos get out there to people that are interested. So you can share this video series, this video, or even the report itself with people that you think are interested or only are keeping an eye on South Africa, because it's very important that this information gets distributed to as many people that might find it interesting or even useful. And then as well, all the links that if you want to check the facts that I named in this video, all the links are in the description, so you can go check it out for yourself in your own free time. Also, if you have any comments on the content of this video, please leave a comment below the video. And as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good one.
And a lot of people fighting back against this nonsense. Conscious Caracol, whoever he or she is one of them.